Okay, hey guys. My name is Davison. I run this channel. It's called Davison Video. I also have another channel called Davison Video, all spelled out. And I was woken up really early this morning by construction workers yelling down in my alleyway at 6 in the morning. So I usually get up around maybe 8 o'clock when my son leaves. And when I woke up, I couldn't get back to sleep. They kept talking loudly. They were being disruptive. So I actually turned to Twitter. That's what I do. When I wake up in the middle of the night, I like many other people, have the habit of, just flipping on my smartphone and seeing what's going on in the world. So unfortunately, I awoke pretty much to the news that if you don't know this, this might be disturbing. This is a trigger alert, but I think you can tell by the title. Anthony Bourdain, the celebrity chef, he committed suicide in a French hotel, and he was discovered unresponsive by his friend who he was working with on a new series. And I don't know what you mean by circles are pointless to the person who's called II, but let me just keep going. So I was shocked by the news. Now, we had a loss in fashion earlier this week when Kate Spade committed suicide at the age, I believe, of 57. She had been separated from her husband for 10 months, so that may have played a factor in it, though they were not planning to get divorced. And apparently she'd been battling anxiety and depression privately for years, and she didn't want to go public about it because she didn't want it to ruin her brand, which is a travesty because you're better off being alive with a flawed brand than dead with a perfect one. That's not laying blame on her. It's just a sad fact. And another sad fact is so frequently the most talented people hide their pain and they don't know how to deal with it. And I think this is what I find so profoundly disturbing about Anthony Bourdain. He was a man that you saw, at least I saw, as someone who had it all. He was sexy. I mean, he was over 60. The man was still sexy. He was brilliant. He was interesting. He still had a hit show. He was an A-lister. He had money. He had a beautiful girlfriend that worked with him creatively. What was lacking in his life? And apparently nothing was lacking. It was just the torture apparently that existed in his soul that he kept hidden from everyone. He may have alluded to it in interviews, but the fact that you can have it all and it still not be enough is what I find so brutally tragic about this suicide. And it legitimately made me cry. I got chills this morning thinking about it because so many of us take what we have for granted, but I'm not saying that's the cause of suicide, but it is sometimes the cause of unwarranted happiness. I think gratitude goes a long way in keeping everything in perspective. But the problem with depression is that it lies and it makes you lose focus on the reality of your reality. And you don't see things as positives anymore. You don't experience pleasure the same way. You see the world through a gray cloud, for lack of a better comparison, or a very, dark filter. And dark, by dark, I mean dark emotional filter. And I guess, too, as somebody who works so hard in entertainment, as modest as this channel may seem and as modest as my main channel may seem, I know that to become successful as an artist, you need to give everything. And sometimes artists give too much, meaning they don't take care of themselves. They don't get enough sleep. They don't take enough time off. They don't allow themselves to be flawed. They're hypercritical of themselves. Like I have to look at myself on camera every time I edit. And I notice things like, oh, I didn't have this line 2 years ago. My makeup's flawed. The lighting was bad. I look like I have raccoon eyes. Oh, I'm bloated because it's my period. Oh, I've got a fat stomach, but 2 weeks ago I had abs. And you can easily get into the circle of just feeling perennially deficient and then never fully rested because you're just expending so much energy in the act of creation and in the act of staying relevant. So I'm sure that to a certain degree probably tortured Bourdain. And that's very unfortunate because everyone would have still considered him amazing, even if his show would have come out a year later, or even if he gave 75% instead of 100%. And I wish that maybe he would have been more public with his struggles. I wish that for anybody that's, afflicted with very dark or tortured thoughts, because then maybe someone might reach out and help you, or maybe you might be reassured by your audience and say, hey, yo, if you're feeling really bad, if you're tired, if you're burnt out, take time off. We'll look forward to your next creation. We can be patient. And I think too, in the social media era, we just never stop. And that is so new for any artist or performer. It's not like, oh, I'm releasing 4 paintings a year. It's like, okay, I'm releasing 4 paintings a year, but then I got to keep up my Instagram. I got to keep up my Facebook. I got to blah, blah, keep up XYZ. And then hope my competitors aren't doing a better job than me, and hope that they don't have more resources than me so they can make it look like they're doing it all themselves when really they have a team. And he shouldn't have had to give his life for his art, nor should he had to have given his life to his sadness and despair. And it's a tragic loss. And I feel like this just hit me harder than the loss of Kate Spade. Even though I have a Kate Spade handbag, ironically, it's covered in daisies, pushing up daisies. And it's one of the, the most prized purses that I have. So I was like, geez, she was just so creative and quirky and unusual. But frequently when you have an unusual approach to the world, sometimes you have an unusual approach to yourself, which is just such a tragedy. But Bourdain, I mean, it hit me so much harder just because it's like, whoa, like he seems so strong. He seems so together. It's like getting blindsided. It's I don't know. I almost feel like I see more of myself in a Bourdain than I do in a Kate Spade, if that makes any sense. Maybe too, because he's more of a television entertainer than Spade was more of a designer who was kind of behind the scenes, versus Bourdain was always very much in the camera. And I'm going to turn the to the audience in a second and get your comments, but I don't know, how can this happen to someone who has it all? And I mean, and I guess the other final thing is, how did they conclude so quickly it was a suicide? That's also what's disturbing to me. Like, was there a note? Was there pills? Could he have just accidentally overdosed on sleeping pills? I almost wonder if it was that, because it just seems so crazy that just out of nowhere in the middle of filming a season that he would kill himself. I don't know, that's a little unsettling to me, but I can only presume that what the police issued as a statement is the truth. So guys, I'm going to turn to you guys. I says, how many subs do you have? I have over 57,000 on my main channel. Who gives a shit? Actually, you know what? Who gives a fuck how many subs I have? This is back to the Bourdain discussion or Anthony discussion. It doesn't matter how many subs you have. It doesn't matter how many followers you have. It matters how happy you are with your fucking life. Stop living a life you don't want. Quit if you have to. Say he was being made miserable by his show. Like I said, he needed to take a mental term off. Do it. You lose 200,000 subscribers? Fuck it. Better off than being dead. I'm telling you, 20 million subscribers means nothing when you're dead. And it certainly means absolutely fucking nothing to the people that love you. It means nothing. Nothing. So who the fuck cares? Who the fuck cares how many subs I have? Who the fuck cares how many followers I have? It matters whether or not I'm able to create, entertain, enrich, enlighten, and inspire. That's it. Fuck this follower fucking bullshit. And fuck constantly needing to keep up with unrealistic standards. We need to take care of ourselves, okay? Mr. Field says you can't OD on sleeping pills. Yes, you can. I'm pretty sure you can take a critical level of Xanax, well, sure, that's anti-anxiety, or Ambien or Ambien, and you can't wake up from it. I'm pretty sure you can. Definitely Xanax, and especially if it's mixed with alcohol. Steven said, what, he died? Yeah, he allegedly killed himself, Steven, if you're still here. Okay, yeah, so thank you, Mr. Bitchy. That's what I thought. So 9UW says, minding the mental stuff is hard, plus many creative types are extra sensitive, exactly, to the problems as well as the beauty. That's it. That's just it, is that artists are idealists. I'm a dreamer. I'm an idealist. So I am always designing my life to try to hit the next great high, or next great enlightening experience, or next great transcendence or metamorphosis. And life frequently can't measure up to that pursuit. However, I still feel, and I'm blessed in this way so far, that I am grounded enough that, and I've had a hard enough life in some ways, regardless of what it looks like, that I can get sad, but I don't really think of myself as ever really getting depressed, because I always maintain some degree of hope. I felt despair. I felt romantic despair, but then I snapped myself out of it by saying, this is unrealistic. There are many fish in the sea, just because, or seas, there's multiple seas, or just because it's not great today, it doesn't mean it can't be great tomorrow, and things can change positively overnight. And maybe my mother lent me her optimism. I think that's where it comes from. My mother can be very dramatic, but she is overall quite cute and quite optimistic. And even my father, I think, is optimistic. So I had at least that emotional perspective drilled into me from a very young age, and maybe it has saved my life. There was only one time in my life I can recall when I was very depressed. I was living with my ex-boyfriend when my son was like 2.5. I had just broken up with a guy who lived in New York City who was very unsympathetic. He was immature, so I forgive him for his immaturity at the time. And it was Christmas, and I didn't know anyone, and I didn't have a job, and I seriously felt like jumping off a bridge. However, A, I had a son. B, my grandmother, who unfortunately is now dead, who lived in the city. So she's actually my step grandmother, not my blood grandmother, but my grandfather's second wife. She said, hey, come over, let's have some cognac and let's smoke cigarettes. And she was like, I don't know, 75, 80. I was like, you know what? I'm going to go over to my grandmother's house, have some cognac and smoke some cigarettes. And we did that, and it kind of renewed my faith in life. It didn't necessarily save my life. I don't think I was about to jump off a bridge, but it definitely, or an overpass, that was like the vision, but it definitely made me feel like someone cared. So that's another thing that we can take out of this whole tragedy is like, if you have doubts about the happiness of one of your friends, of someone close to you, don't be afraid to reach out, spend quality time with people, unplug if you have to, and realize that there's always at least one reason every single day to keep living. I truly believe, unless you are truly at the end of your life, but that is totally different than if you're healthy, if you are well, there's always a reason to keep on living. Jesus Christ is who I look up to. Well, if that's who you look up to, then that's good. If that provides you strength, then good. That's not what I ascribe to, but if that's what keeps you going, then good. So Mr. Field says, I could not get the rope secure without drilling into the floorboards, so I never ended up doing it. Jeez Louise, Mr. Field, no! I value you. You come and hang out with me all the time. Don't say that. This is making me sad. So 9UW said, oh, Raspergo, hello. Apparently Sam Yaffa put out a few words on the matter. He's a local celebrity who showed Mr. Bourdain our country on his show. Do we know if it was food poisoning? No. I mean, you cannot mistake food poisoning for suicide. And I mean, I don't think they conclude that it's suicide without a coroner's report or without something very obvious. Like if he had taken a gun to his own head, that it's not food poisoning, is it? Like we haven't heard the method by which he died. If he's hanging, it's not food poisoning, right? Unless it could also be too, if he was hanging, it could be a case of autoerotic asphyxiation, wherein someone will, but we don't know. Again, this is all speculation. Does it even matter how he died? But yeah, where some people, they like to deprive their brains of oxygen, and so then it looks like they've hung themselves when really they were being kinky. That happened to the lead singer of NXS, apparently. But anyhow, it doesn't matter how he died. It's just it's a great tragedy, and he makes me inspired to create better content. And I've been doing a lot of soul searching about that lately. I feel like some of my content isn't up to snuff. It doesn't have great enduring artistic value. I feel like some of the stuff I did years ago has more value than some of the stuff I've produced recently. And that makes me sad because I'm capable of producing. I actually fully believe I'm capable of producing at the level of Anthony Bourdain with the narrative at the beginning, visiting interesting locales, conversing with the owners, shooting it in high quality. I know I have it in me. It's just taking the time to do it and paying attention to what you're creating and crafting something that is more enduring and of higher caliber than, me rapidly shooting out videos 4 times a week. So Anthony, if you're listening, you are and were an inspiration, and I'm so sorry that I'm so sorry that despair or whatever it was overtook you. It is truly one of the biggest losses of this year artistically. It was a hanging. That's what I just said. Yeah. So 9UW says, I hope you're getting real help. There's no shame in it. If only practical issues are holding you back, then you should really look for proper help. Well, for sure. Yeah, I don't want you to have problems, Mr. Field, but are you better now? Does anybody have any thoughts on this matter other than it's a tragic loss that seems so terribly unnecessary and is so horribly chilling because he had it all, or it looks like he had it all? Raspergus says, it seems like he was a really successful man. Exactly. That's what makes it so haunting. Mr. Sobici says this topic is very cathartic. I agree, because it makes you talk about your own mortality and it makes you talk about your own emotional state. And it also reminds you to not take anything for granted, to not believe everything that you see. Don't take appearances at face value because they can very, very much deceive. Know that fame comes at a price because there's so much hard work that sometimes people feel like they have nothing left. Money doesn't make you happy. Followers don't make you happy. I mean, my connections with you guys make me happy. Like knowing that Mr. Bitchy's going to show up, or Raspergu, or Mr. Feel. I mean, a 9UW member who named Murray the Chocolate Thunder, who I sleep with now. Murray the Chocolate Thunder is hiding under my pillow. That gives me life. And actually, when I go live, it gives me more life than when I edit a video, in the sense that this is a social experience. And I think we deprive ourselves too much of social experiences. But followers, just numbers in general that you don't interact with, that you don't develop a connection with, that's not going to feed you. That's not going to make you whole. That's not going to make you happy. That's not going to cure your depression. Though I do believe a lot in talk therapy. Like right now, as Mr. Bitchy said, this is cathartic because we're having a discussion. Well, yes, you gave me happiness because you supporting me allowed me to then make the video with Steven, which made me happy. And then now I've hung on to see. I'll even show you Murray the Chocolate Thunder is right here. He's hiding. He actually is very comfortable to sleep with. He's right here. I'm not giving him away. I'm giving away the other boyfriend pillow, but Murray's mine. Pardon my horrible leggings. They make me look wide. But who cares? Again, it doesn't matter. I'm not wide. So 9UW said, I don't know. I was sort of in the headspace as Mr. Bourdain in a while back. That's why I quit my job, and now instead I'm working towards a goal I feel is good for me. What's that goal? And Mr. Bitchy says, I think the idealism behind success is leading to a very dangerous future. Yeah, well, you have to keep it in perspective and know that it's not the destination, it's the journey. And so you better enjoy the journey, or you better just realize the journey is not always easy. And no one's happy all the time, and there are sacrifices and compromises to everything. The sacrifice for generating a lot of money is either risk, failure, or so much work that even when you get the money that you've been working so hard at, it doesn't do anything for you. It doesn't, you're like, okay, I can buy Dom Perignon. I could go blow, like literally right now, I literally could go blow 10 grand on shoes and I don't know, a dress, a dinner. But what would it give me? It would make me happy maybe for like 12 hours, and then I'd be unhappy again. I'm not blowing that money because I'm saving to buy a house for me and my son, but the money isn't going to be what does it for you. It's crafting a life full of experiences and routines that feed you emotionally, feed you spiritually, feed your community. gives you peace, gives you hope, gives you security. Everything else is just things, just items on a list. I do have a son. My son's 17. Nice pants. Thank you, Respirgo. And actually, part of what gives me life and what I do is when I try new things, I realized fairly quickly, well, not very fairly quickly, but as of the last, I think, year and a half, I'm like, nothing makes me happier than trying new things. That's why I did experiments. I'm an experimental person. So I have to craft series that are based on me tasting all aspects of life and being unusual and laughing at how crazy and weird life can be. Well, we all love you, so you make us feel happy, free, and healthy. Well, that's very nice. I'm very happy that I can provide that for you. So 9UW says, I'm becoming a robotics engineer. I know it sounds weird, but I've thought this through. That's not weird at all. That's very practical and very in demand. You're going to be paid quite handsomely if we're talking about money. And maybe you're going to save us from robots turning against us someday. Maybe you will be our savior, 9UW member. So Mr. Sobici says traveling. So make sure that's what brings him joy. So make sure every year you travel, or every weekend go on a, drive 3 hours out into the country. It almost seems like everyone, when you drive 3 hours, you end up in like the mountains or the countryside. And go to like an apple farm, or go to like me and Steven are probably going to go to a llama farm, because I wanted to go hang out with llamas. And I was like, Steven, would you mind if we went to a llama farm? And I can't read his reaction. He sort of seemed into it, but he was like, why the fuck do you want to go? Because I want to, okay? I want to go to a freaking llama farm. And see, look, I'm instantaneously happier, even if it's just completely stupid. Maybe 9UW will create the evil robots. Well, let's not accuse them of anything. You must love Simone Guyarts, then, the creator of the shitty robots. She's actually doing better since she got her brain surgery. It appears as if it was a success and she didn't lose any function, or she has very few deficiencies afterwards, which is a blessing. And actually, she tweeted recently that she's never felt happier about life, because I think precisely she was forced to appreciate it because she very much could have been faced with the end of her life. So I think when you don't know what you got till it's gone, if the end of your life is a distinct possibility, then you kind of, everything becomes a little bit more special than if you just think, oh, I got to wake up tomorrow and do my laundry. Or, oh, I'm just going to get caught up in how boring it is to edit another video. Have you seen a llama dressed as a lobster? I certainly have not. My throat's itchy for some reason. Oh, is it the LED light? Guys, this is the weirdest thing. I have LED light panels, and I don't plug them in, and I don't use them that often, other than when they're on battery power, because I noticed whenever I'd plug in my LED lights, I would get allergic. My ears would start to itch and my throat would itch. I now have this LED ring light, and I'm getting the same reaction. I'm going to turn it off and let's see what happens. I think I'm allergic to how the hell is it possible that I'm allergic to LED lights? That's really weird. I'm going to have to figure out what it is. And maybe there's like some sort of metal in them. Oh my goodness, that's so weird. That really is not pleasant. It's stressing me out. So let me look up llama dressed as a lobster. I might go soon, guys, because I'm going to get some exercise before. I have to make a patrons only video, and it's stressing me out because I don't have a good idea, and I have to do. I might go into my archives and edit the Kanye West breast painting so that people can see that uncensored, because I'm normally the queen of ideas, but like the ideas that I want to do, unfortunately, one of them I have to rent a space because I'm having problems with my apartment. So that's kind of thrown me for a loop. But I'll get through it, and I know people aren't going to hate me for it. It's just frustrating because I'm the type of person that, again, maybe I'm not taking good enough care of myself, but I like to keep going and going. So llama just as a lot. Isn't that precious? Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. Thank you. I like it. That makes me happy. Hi, Javier. Quiet Drops out. It says hi, who's depressed? Well, not me. I'm going to upload this broadcast so you'll be able to see it after the fact. But celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain unfortunately committed suicide last night in a Paris hotel. Apparently, it was due to hanging. He had it all. He was immensely talented, attractive, rich, brilliant, any positive. I'm sure he had his dark side. I'm sure he wasn't perfect to everyone, but he was also a champion of the Me Too movement. And yet he still was overcome by sadness and despair and hung himself in a Paris hotel. And it's utterly tragic and shocking and terrible because it reminds people that you can have it all and still be terribly and horribly unhappy in a way that results in suicide. And it's a shame. Why didn't he tweet? Why didn't he say anything? Why did he feel that why did he feel so worthless that he thought it was better to end it all? As opposed to reaching out. That's such a tragedy. One tweet could have saved his life, and there's nothing any of us can do. Bye, Mr. Bitchy. Thank you for the happiness. I will see you later. So Mr. Field said, LED lights blink extremely fast, and a few people are sensitive to them. Could be the case with tube lamps too. It's so weird. What a weird allergy to have. What a unfortunate allergy for me to have that I'm allergic to. I'll have to do a video on the science of being allergic to LEDs because it's just quite odd. Very odd, my friends. So any thoughts before I go? Because I want to close this broadcast and upload it. I have other work to do. I just kind of wanted to go live and talk about this because it's deeply disturbing. And if any of you are depressed, please talk to me. I don't want anybody to be unhappy, Life is already so short. It's like, get help if you need it. Don't be ashamed. Ask your friends and family for help. Call a suicide hotline. Call 911 for Christ's sake. You don't even have to know the suicide hotline number. Just dial 911 if you have thoughts of ending it. Go for a walk. Eat an entire cake. That's the thought I always return to. As stupid as it sounds, for some reason, I'm like, if ever I feel like I want to die or kill myself, I give myself permission to eat an entire cheesecake. And I swear to you, the cheesecake would be reason enough for me to live. And I'd be so high on sugar that I'd be like, yep, life ain't that bad. I just ate an entire cheesecake. Then I'd feel fat in a couple of days, but at least I'd be alive and fat. High status men can't admit any weaknesses. That's too bad. I try not to talk about my weaknesses too much. I don't know why. I think it's partially back to my parents. My father is kind of very much of the mindset. Maybe that's bad for him. But my father, if I can accuse him of anything, it is true that he keeps too much inside. He's very private and inaccessible and sometimes hard to talk to. But then he'll open up. Like he's been a little bit more chill the older that he gets. But if anything, sometimes I guess he can be a little too insensitive and be like, just toughen it up. Like, get your shit together. Stop being a pussy. Like that, literally, that's my dad's attitude. So I think I've always had a little bit of that. And so much as I've been gifted my mother's optimism, I think that my father was always like, just pull yourself together. Just fucking pull yourself together. And a lot of the times that is valuable. But yes, when you don't deal with true issues that you have to be honest about, then it does eat away at you and can turn into something much, much worse. I don't think I'm feeling down. I just know I need to exercise, and I hate when I get allergies. Like that's one of my things is that I sometimes get allergic. And I've had a near anaphylaxis reaction twice where I had to be injected with an EpiPen. I could just take a Reactin, but you can hear it. My throat's off, but I swear to God, it might've been the freaking light, which is just so, because I used that light all last night and I didn't have a problem when it was on the blue. But when I put it on the orange, it had that effect. We'll figure it out. It's whatever. So guys, thank you for joining me. Again, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to unplug. Don't be afraid to go on vacation. Don't hold yourself to impossible standards. Only live a life you want to live. If you're gay, be gay. If you're in a bad relationship, leave. If you want to be polyamorous, tell your wife. If you want to have different sex, tell your fucking wife. Stop hiding. Stop self-medicating. Live in the truth. I think that solves a lot of issues, but people are afraid of the truth. But usually the truth brings happiness. Even if there's short-term losses, there's long-term gains. So I'll leave you with that thought. I'm terribly sorry to the family of Anthony Bourdain. It's tragic, and I don't know what else to say. So God bless everyone. Love to you all, and I will see you later.